Welcome back. You are still with us on Kwacha on Millennium TV 5 on your orders, and you can also follow us on Millennium. Right before we went on the break, Tracy mentioned an economy, of course, the country's economic performance. Just really understand what has been. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, dear viewers. Thank you.
Okay, so like I mentioned, so the discussions. How would you say Zambia vary the executive?
Okay, we've seen the key parameters are indicating a very good signal, and when you look at even just the key fundamentals on the microeconomic environmental perspective, we are basically scoring in a very good direction. And if you look even at the revenue vis-a-vis the expenditure with the government plans as well as exercises are quite, showing that we are doing quite something good. Even when you look at the government expenditure columns, we are tandem with what set as objectives. And even when you look at the revenue side of things as well, we are also within the target range. And when you look at even just the composition of the economic performance, I think we are able to do something better as well. Though we are in the eating process, as we could see that we have inflation also trending toward the target corridor, policy corridor of 6 to 8%. And also even just other compounding factors that we are able to see. You could even see that there's been some moderate effects also in the economy. We had the economy which was overeating, so right now we have a good perspective in terms of how things are. Except that we have the situation where we have a sluggish private sector, growth output. So of which I'm sure as we go toward the end of the year, we should be able to at least pick up and start recording steady growth.
Okay. You did mention to do an issue to do with inflation. Now that it has actually gone down, how is it affecting our economy?
Well, when the inflation is trending in the direction that it's actually taking, it signifies to say that we're now having a ailing economy, meaning that we are getting to a certain level of normal. Because obviously, when you look at the way it was having a bit of sparks, even went up to about 24.6, which was not actually a very good thing, because that actually would have, melted into our wealthy investment and business portfolios. So basically, with the trend in which we are able to see the inflation, meaning that we are now getting to have a better understanding of how we can pick up certain pieces in the economy. Yeah.
Before we choose which particular sectors of the economy, Mr. Sanga, like mining and tourism, and just looking how they've been performing the past 5 months, let's quickly touch the issue to do with this particular unforeseen situations. The pandemic of COVID-19, still handling that, as well as the geopolitical war, Russia and Ukraine war. How, as a country, have we tried to work around that, ensuring that, yes, despite this particular pandemic and the war that is currently going on right now, we still try to alleviate or work on the effect that it has on our economy, directly or indirectly?
In as much as we can look at alternative ways in which we can mitigate some of the impact, but obviously these two poses to be downside risks, leaving our economic growth patterns. But obviously, yes, there are quite a number of incentivized programs that are actually being put in place, saying that we can find a way of how we can pull out ourselves from this situation. But obviously, yes, in as far as may be affecting Zambia, even other countries also are part of what we are able to face. So as for Zambia's case, I think we are on the right direction, even just trying to push, debt reconciliation and restructuring itself as well. And even just when you look at the composition of what we have done, even the respective sectors like agriculture and a few other, sectors of the economy, I think it signifies that we are, fostering ourselves into a steady growth in terms of the economic fundamentals.
Okay.
So we have noted that the Kwacha-dollar relationship has been stable for. How would you say this local business?
That's the reason why we have even now a very good numerical advantage when it comes to the aspect of inflation, because the numerical advantage now is directly linked with the base effect, in which we are now having to see how certain prices of goods are now slowing down, and even just when you look at the moderating factors on the inflation pressures, there are quite a number of them, and Kwacha is one of them, which is actually triggering to see where we are. Even when you look at the issues to do with the fiscal consolidation, where the government now is trying to give that confidence in the market, I think also that is what is actually happening. So there are quite a number of compounding cases that are also attributing to what.
You've mentioned giving confidence in the market, and I'm aware the last time you were here, we were having a conversation. You said that there's certain sentiments, certain actions that we can see coming through from government that does give some confidence in the economy. Yesterday, we just heard from the head of state mentioning that Zambia will still remain with good ties with China as well as the East, because there's been so much talk about how we are aligning ourselves so much of the West. How does this reflect in the economy at all? Having that, okay, there is still some working relationship that Zambia will continue to have with the East.
Okay, you see, the good part here is that the positive sentiment that we normally receive in the economy, they have also got a certain effect that they trigger in the economy, of which we basically see the stability of certain elements in the economy as well. Yeah. So with the the straightforwardness of government trying to have that conscious mind to say let's embrace everyone on the table, it's actually something that is actually sustainable for the economy, and that also really helps in a way. It puts a lot of things in balance, and we create this scale of balance for growth.
Okay.
Yeah, because obviously when we have a government which has got steady articulation on certain policies, and even just when it comes to bilateral agreement or negotiation, or even just collaboration with all the parties involved, like the East, the West, and whoever is involved there, I think that gives better understanding or positive feel for the economy as well, and that also compounds to the growth as well.
So, Mr. Sanga, we have actually, for example, onions. Why has this happened?
You see, the challenge that is there is that we have put ourselves in a very difficult situation, because obviously from time to time we have had a situation where we ban importation of onion and potatoes from South Africa. And by the way, South Africa's advantageous climate patterns compared to Zambia, because in their case they have got rain season throughout the whole time, and in our case it's seasonal. So that also brings an element of saying, look, we are sufficiently able to supply the local market, but in the end we fail. And even when you look at the quality of our onion, it also gives a lot of desirable points to make from there. So the strongest key point in terms of reference in this case is that we need to make agriculture be something that can even go throughout the whole, and have some mechanism where we can have irrigation system, or probably go into what we used to call winter farming. I think that's what we need to look at, so that we can incentivize some of the needs in the local market.
Let's talk about, maybe if I could try to focus on certain sectors. The mining sector, we do have the big four mines that we have. Talk about Lumwana, we've got Popani, Konkola mines. What would you say has been the performance? How would you rate the performance so far, the first particular 5 months of the year? And also, we've heard so much positive conversations in regards to monies being pumped into the mining sector. That will give us about 40 more years of mining life, revamping these particular mines. And certain mines still remain undecided. Talk about the issues to do at KCM here and there. So Zambia being so much, stretching so much on copper production, how has been the first 5 months in the year 2022?
Well, it has been quite an interesting period. Obviously, yes, we know that copper is still in super cycle, and that's an advantageous point which Zambia should be able to, endeavor and ensure that we underscore some good positive economic gains from there. But obviously, when you look at the whole composition of what has been happening in the mine, we know that KCM and Mopane are having challenges in a way, and of which we understand to say that the good output that we're able to get from Quantum Mineral, particularly Kansanshi and few other subsidiaries within the operations, are also giving a lot of good benefits. And even when you look at the whole entire system of what the miners has actually been doing for the past 5 months, it's quite good because it's what is even actually reflecting in the Kwacha dollar relationship in terms of condition of stability. Yeah, so that is also what is actually triggering to what we're able to see, because the support that has been rendered by the Bank of Zambia is channeled through the process of copper receipts, So that is what we are able to see. But obviously we have underperformed as a country for us to, reach where we are. Even the talks when the government is talking of trying to find value addition, where DRC Congo president as well as His Excellency HH trying to come up with the MOUs and all that. I think it's a light thing in a positive direction, but obviously that has to be accelerated so quickly so that we can gain a lot of substantial.
How do we leverage more on copper, for example? Right now, for some time now, it's been
we are the second producer in Africa after Congo, and we can take the market with our conditions. So that is also one of the biggest.
Is it possible?
It is possible. We can actually give a very good advantageous position if we were to just join forces, and we can do a lot of things from there. And even just the outcry of having facility that can turn into value addition in the country, I think that will also give a lot of substantial benefit for the country as well.
So, I mean, we also. How do you think?
Well, you see, the economic fundamentals land on SME, and if we create a strong and robust SME profile, we should be able to underscore quite a number of positive gains from there. Yes, we need to have a lot of incentivized, instrument in terms of policies, so that we're able to at least stimulate and steer some of the good, production that we can get from there. And even when you look at even just the numbers in terms of employment, I think it stems from there. If we have a very sound, economic factors with the SME, we should be able to see some of the good things that we can actually accord from there. So those are the key pointers that we need to drive as well. When it comes even to most of the times, the police levers can also weigh much more on this. I think we should be able to see that we can even use the cost of doing business, and even the rate of unemployment that we have recorded in the past. And if you look at even just the pattern that we have actually created in Zambia now, we've got what we are now aiming to be calling as the income poverty. That's the reason why you find even some cases of suicide happening related to economic factors as well.
Let's talk about the manufacturing sector. Earlier on, you mentioned that the private sector is quite very keen ensuring that we do have economic stability in the country, the Sangha. How are we faring? Are we having good policies of our coming for get into the manufacturing? Also, we do have a lot of other Zambia-owned companies that we know were privatized, were closed. Are we seeing some of those actually coming up?
Yes, the political will is quite strong and firmly, standing, because we have seen that the government has made a lot of commitment. I could see most of the times a good friend, Chipoka Mulenga, has been talking about trying to go into value addition, trying to work around, simplifying some of the complexities regarding the taxes, or regarding the licenses and all those things. I think the government is strongly working on this. And even when you look at the facility zone, all those are quite good, incentives that are coming, which can actually trigger, economic growth from there. I think that's what we need to look at. If anything, government is trying to get this on a light path.
What do you make of
Well, it was quite inevitable, though my consideration was that we could have maintained, but obviously when you look at petrol, petrol seemed to be a commodity which is learning a bit of a faster rate compared to diesel. But obviously when you look at the composition in the Zambian case, diesel compounds a bigger portion because it goes into production, industrial activities and all those things. When you look at the petrol aspect, it's just basically detailed in the Zambian case. So this is just simply for most of the car, motor vehicles, So the diesel hasn't been touched, so the economic fundamentals will still maintain, and we are even likely to record good inflation patterns because you see, diesel is what drives the economy. So if it has remained the same, I think it's in a very good direction.
Your forecast, I know we only have 2 days, then the 6 months have been elapsed. Your forecast going forward is just your general forecast looking at the economic performance in the country.
Okay, we expect the inflation to continue at the downhill projection. Obviously, we know that this is working at the back of numerical advantage, which is direct linked with the number of factors. In this case, I would say factors to do with the cost outlays and all those things. And even the inflation also will continue going downward even in the next month, owing on the production that we're able to see from agriculture. Because agriculture is basically, agriculture output is going to feed into inflation, and obviously we are going to record single digits quite very soon. And we expect the Kwacha dollar relationship to also modulate in a very positive direction against the US dollar, of which we know that Kwacha in this case is going to get more stronger as we go up to somewhere like August, because we see that at least there is that stability. And when you look at even just the other composition, when it comes to what government also is working out, government is trying to work a plan for next year in terms of budget. Obviously, we expect not to have so much of a deficit in their expenditure columns, looking at the pattern that they have built in the previous quarter. And even when it comes to the monetary policy rate, yes, even if it has been maintained for about 3 times, we are expecting to have the hike at some point, because this year is not a good year for business in terms of what is happening. When you look at the downside risks as well as the upside risks in terms of electricity increase as well as fuel moderation. So those are
the MPR actually go up.
Yeah, so those MPR, yes, at some point will have to go up, probably as we go toward the end of the year.
Sanga, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to have you this.
Thank you. Pleasure.
We'll be going on a short break. Of course, when you get back, we'll be having more conversations as well as